What can really happen from one drunk selfie in a dark club? How does a blurry shot of a stranger's hands under my skirt turn into folders, dates, and a process server calling my name in front of other parents? Can you still say my husband was controlling when his only revenge was perfectly legal? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Selene Marrow, and everyone keeps acting like one picture ruined my whole life. I do not see it that way. I am 32, I work in social media for a clothing brand, and my face and body are part of my job. If I do not look fun and wanted online, people stop caring. That is just how it works now. My husband, Aaron, is a math teacher. He is good and quiet and safe. People love to say I was lucky to have him, like that should be enough. They do not have to live with a man who sighs every time you put on a short skirt, who checks your stories like homework, who acts like every laugh in a club is an attack on the family name. The night I took that club selfie, I was drunk, happy, and a stranger's hand slid under my skirt just as I hit the button. It looked wild, yes. It looked wrong, maybe. But to me, in that second, it was just a joke. I posted it, my friends cheered, and I told myself Aaron would calm down. I never thought he would answer with quiet folders and papers. The trouble started in our small kitchen, like most things in our marriage. I was standing in front of the fridge, using the metal surface as a mirror while I put on eyeliner. The light above the stove made my skin look sharp and clean. My short black skirt hugged my hips. The glitter top was tight. I liked how I looked. I needed to like how I looked. That was half my job. Aaron stood at the sink, washing dishes from dinner. He wore his old-school t-shirt, the one with the faded logo. His shoulders were tense. Iris was in the living room with a cartoon on low volume, singing to herself. It was a normal night, but it did not feel normal to me. It felt like my life was shrinking. He asked what time I would be home. I said late. He asked if late meant midnight or 3 a.m. I said I did not know, that it depended on the music. He asked if I could at least keep my phone on, and maybe not post anything too risky this time. I said he sounded like the school principal, not my husband. His phone lay on the counter. It buzzed and lit up with a small blue rectangle. I saw the words, Library Annex 7:20 p.m. I joked that he was scheduling secret dates with books. He said it was nothing, just a reminder, and tapped it away quickly. Then he rinsed his mug and set it on the far end of the counter, away from my empty mug near the sink. The distance between those two cups made me feel more judged than his words. I told him going out was part of who I was. I said I worked in social media, and people followed me because I was fun. I said nobody wanted to see a tired woman in sweatpants folding laundry. He said he did not care what strangers wanted. He said he cared what Iris might see one day. I told him he was dramatic, that our daughter was 6, not 16, and that by the time she was older, this stuff would be buried under 1,000 more posts. In our bedroom, I stood in front of the full-length mirror and tried different angles. The skirt rode high when I moved, but that was the point. I took a quick test selfie and checked my reflection. My phone pinged with a message from Nova. She wrote that the Night Bloomers were already pre-gaming and that I needed to hurry. She said the new DJ was cute. She added that I should not let Professor Numbers kill my vibe. I told her Aaron had already done his little speech. I said he had asked me not to post any crazy pictures. Nova replied that men always say that, until they feel proud their wife is hot. I smiled at that. I still think she was right in some ways. Aaron came into the doorway and watched me put on lipstick. He did not whistle. He did not smile. He asked if I really felt safe dressed like that in a crowded club. He said some people did not care about boundaries. I said boundaries were in my head, not in my clothes. I said if he trusted me, there was no problem. He said trust worked both ways. I turned my head so I did not have to see his disappointed look. The ride to the club with Nova was loud and bright. She had music up, windows down, perfume thick in the car. She filmed us in the front seat and tagged me, asking our followers if they were ready for chaos. I leaned into the camera, stuck my tongue out, laughed. For those few minutes, I forgot about Aaron's tight jaw and his careful questions. The club was already packed. Lights flashed in colors. The bass thumped through my ribs. Sweat and perfume mixed in the air. We pushed through bodies to the bar. Cade, the DJ, raised his hand in a wave from his booth and pointed at me like I was his star of the night. I liked that. It made me feel like I was someone, not just a wife wiping peanut butter off a table. We danced hard. Nova filmed small clips, posting them to our group story. My phone buzzed again and again in my hand. I saw Aaron's name once. I flicked the message away. He had said he wanted to know I was safe. I decided he could assume I was safe. I was busy being alive. In the bathroom, the mirror was covered with fingerprints and a few lipstick marks. Girls squeezed in, fixing hair, laughing, shouting over the muffled bass. I checked my mascara, fixed a strand of hair, and lifted my phone. The bathroom light was ugly, so I left without taking a picture. I wanted one out on the main floor, with color and chaos behind me. Back near the dance floor, there was a tall mirrored pillar where people kept stopping to take selfies. Nova pulled me toward it. She said we needed a main feed moment. I stood with one hip out, phone tilted slightly above my face. Bodies bumped into us from all sides. Someone behind me put a hand on my waist. I didn't look back. This was normal in clubs. People touched without thinking. Then it happened. As I pressed the button, another hand slid lower, under the hem of my skirt, fingers spreading over the back of my thigh. It was fast, clumsy, not gentle, but my brain did not have time to decide how to feel. The shutter clicked. The flash popped. I laughed because everyone around me laughed, because Nova shouted that the photo would be insane, because my heart was racing and I did not want to think about why. I looked at the picture. The angle was perfect for what my followers liked. My face tilted, mouth open in a wild smile, makeup sharp. Behind me, the crowded club. On my body, very clear, were two hands under my skirt, fingers pressing into the fabric. You could see skin, but not everything. It was suggestive, not fully exposed. To me, in that drunk second, it looked powerful. I looked wanted. I looked like the kind of woman brands paid to be edgy. I posted it to my story with a caption, "Married, not dead." I tagged Nova and the club. My thumb trembled a little, but I told myself that was just the alcohol. Notifications exploded almost at once. Fire emojis. Queen. Iconic. Goals. I focused on those and scrolled too fast to see the rest. Nova leaned over my shoulder, shrieked, and said this was my best post yet. Someone next to us said my husband must be the happiest man alive. I laughed and said he was lucky I still went home to him. Inside, a small voice asked what Aaron would feel when he saw those hands. I shut that voice down. On the ride home, the streetlight streaked past the window. I finally opened Aaron's messages. He had sent one asking if I was okay. Another asking if I had seen what I posted. Another saying he was embarrassed and hurt. He had said it did not look like a joke from his side. I typed that he was overreacting. I said it was just a club, just a stupid photo. I said only a controlling man would turn it into something ugly. When I walked into the apartment, the lights were low. The TV was off. Aaron sat on the couch, hands clasped. Iris was asleep in her room. He looked at me, then at my phone. He asked if I understood how that picture looked. I said it looked like fun. I said he should be proud other men still wanted his wife. I said the problem was his fragile ego, not my body. He did not shout. He did not call me names. He just went quiet in that heavy, final way. He stood up, took a pillow and a folded blanket from the back of the couch, and walked past our bedroom. He went to the guest room. The door closed with a soft click. At the same time, my phone buzzed in my hand with a new notification from the Night Bloomers chat, showing my selfie reposted again with a row of laughing faces. As the guest room door latch clicked shut, my phone buzzed with a new Night Bloomers ping, showing my selfie reposted. The next morning, the kitchen felt colder than it should for such a small place. Aaron moved around the counters like a ghost. He made Iris's toast and cut it into neat triangles. He poured juice, packed her school bag, checked the homework folder. My phone lay on the table, screen down. I could still feel it buzzing now and then, like a tiny heartbeat. He did not look at me much. He asked Iris if she wanted strawberries in her lunch. He asked if she remembered her library book. He did not ask me anything. His mug stood again at the far end of the counter, steaming. My mug sat empty near the sink. That stupid gap between them annoyed me more than his silence. I picked up my phone. The selfie still sat in my story, full of reactions. Fire emojis, heart eyes, my hero, married but winning. There were also words like gross and poor husband, but I scrolled past those fast. I focused on the praise. I decided the angry ones belonged to jealous people. Aaron said he had to leave early to prep tests at school. His voice was soft, flat. He kissed Iris on the head. He did not kiss me. He walked out with his bag. The door closed quietly behind him. I checked my messages. Nova had written that the selfie was all over town now, that even people she did not know were reposting it. She said I had broken the local internet. I told myself that meant I had done something right. At the office, I felt the shift before I even reached my desk. People looked up when I came in, then quickly looked away, then looked again with small smiles. Someone at the far end of the open-plan floor let out a low whistle. I could hear my name in small pockets of whisper. When I sat down and opened my laptop, my coworker Tara rolled her chair closer. She held up her phone with my selfie on the screen. She asked if that was really me. I laughed and said yes. I said it was just a crazy night. She said I was brave. She said she could never post something like that with a husband and a kid. I shrugged and told her some men could handle a hot wife and some could not. I told a small, edited version of the story. I said Aaron had sent me like 10 messages in a row. I said he had acted like I had cheated on him. I said he told me I had humiliated him, that he had said I was a bad mother. None of that was exactly what he had said, but it felt true to me. Tara shook her head and said he sounded controlling. My boss, Damon, passed by my desk. He gave me a half smile that did not reach his eyes. He said he liked that I was on brand for wild nights, then added that he needed a quick word later. He tapped the side of my monitor and walked away. My stomach did a small flip. At lunch, I checked the Night Bloomers chat. Nova had posted a screenshot of the selfie with a caption about, "Some people don't deserve this much energy." One of our friends had added a blurry clip from the club, showing Cade leaning over toward me. The comments on that one were more mixed. Some people said I was a legend. Some said I was a married mess. Someone had tagged my work account and written something like, "Is this the brand image now?" I tried to laugh it off. Later, in a small glass meeting room, Damon closed the door behind us. The office noise muffled. He sat across from me and put his phone on the table, screen down. He said he wanted to talk as a boss, not as a friend. That always means trouble. He said he had seen the selfie. He said a couple of customers had too. He said the problem was not me going out. He did not care about that. He said the problem was that people in the comments were talking about me being married to a teacher and having a daughter at the local school. He said that now my private choices were being discussed in public under the company name. I told him it was just a joke, just a stunt. I said social media worked on shock. I said we used edgy images all the time for the brand. He replied that there was a difference between a model in a planned shoot and an employee posting herself with a stranger's hands under her skirt. He asked if I had thought about my husband or Iris before clicking post. I said of course I had, that I knew my limits. Then I added that my husband was the one making it into something ugly. He asked if everything was okay at home. I rolled my eyes and said Aaron had gone into silent punishment mode, that he was sleeping in the guest room to make me feel guilty. I said he was acting like I had actually cheated. Damon frowned and said he did not want details, just stability. He said HR might reach out about general social media guidelines. I told him I was being targeted because my husband was fragile. I watched him write a small note on a pad with the word statement at the top. I did not like that word. After work, some of the team planned drinks at a rooftop bar. Part of me wanted to go straight home and nap. A louder part of me wanted to see how big the story had become. I went with the louder part. The rooftop bar had strings of lights hung overhead and small plants along the edges. The city looked soft and pretty from there. People in nice clothes laughed around high tables. Tara and 2 others waved me over. They already had drinks. They toasted to me as Queen of the Night. I laughed and let the title sit on my shoulders. They asked about Aaron. I gave them a version of the morning in the kitchen. I said he refused to look at me. I said he had moved to the guest room without explanation. I said he told me I had ruined his reputation at school. He had not actually used those exact words, but he had looked like someone whose reputation was breaking, and that was enough for me to tell it that way. I said he was acting like I had slept with half the club instead of taking one messy picture. I made him sound like a cartoon villain of jealousy. They shook their heads, said men like him were scared of women who felt alive. I nodded, feeling justified. My phone buzzed with a new notification. Cade had DM'd me. He wrote that the selfie was iconic and that my husband must be terrified and lucky as hell. He added that if my man could not handle the heat, the club always had room for me. I showed the message to Tara and Nova. They screamed and said even the guy in the picture thought Aaron was ridiculous. I did not mention to them that a small part of me felt nervous that Cade had saved the photo. I told myself it was just a compliment. As we drank, Nova asked if Iris had seen anything. I said no, that she was a child and had no phone. I said by the time she was older, nobody would remember this. Tara mentioned that parents at her cousin's school sometimes shared crazy local videos in their chats. I brushed that off. I said that was other schools, other lives. The sun slid lower, the lights turned warmer. Damon showed up briefly, spoke to a few people, then left early. I watched him go and saw him glance at his phone, then at me. His thumb swiped across the screen. For a second, I thought about following him and smoothing things over. Then a group at our table started chanting for me to tell the story again, and the urge passed. So I told it again, louder this time, like a performance. I said Aaron had nearly had a panic attack because strangers saw me being touched. I said he was trying to ban me from the club, from short skirts, from having a life. I joked that if he wanted a nun, he should have moved into a church. Everyone laughed. Nova slapped the table, wiping tears from her eyes. As I talked, someone across from me lifted their phone. The little camera light blinked on. It pointed right at me, catching my face, my gestures, my jokes about my fragile husband. I saw it and did not stop. I tilted my chin and made my voice brighter, as if an audience beyond the table needed to hear how right I was and how wrong he was. As I joked that my fragile husband couldn't handle one picture, my manager texted asking for a quick word on Monday, just as a co-worker's camera light blinked on and stayed on my face. The weekend came, and the selfie was still running like its own little show without me. On Saturday morning, I tried to act normal. I dressed Iris, brushed her hair into 2 small braids, and told her we were going to get snacks for the family birthday dinner that night. Aaron had already taken laundry from the machine and hung it neatly in the bathroom. He moved around me with that same distant politeness. He asked Iris if she was excited to see Grandma and cousins. He did not look at me when he said it. At the supermarket, the bright lights felt harsh after the soft light of the club. Iris held onto the cart and hummed to herself as we rolled down the aisles. I kept checking my phone, still watching the numbers on the selfie. The view count kept climbing. Some new comments had shown up, calling me a mess, but others still called me brave, iconic, alive. I focused on those. Near the cereal aisle, I heard my name. I turned and saw one of the school moms, a woman called Priya, who always looked put together. She smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. She said she had seen my famous picture. She laughed when she said it, but I felt the edge underneath. She asked if everything was okay at home. I laughed back and said it was just a silly club moment, that people were taking it too seriously. I said my husband had gone full drama mode over one photo. I said he was acting like I had run off with a stranger when I had been home before 3. Priya pressed her lips together and said she guessed social media could be tricky. She glanced at Iris, then back at me. I hated that look. It was the look people gave to car crashes. At the checkout, Iris tugged on my sleeve and asked why that lady had looked at us like that. I told her the lady was just shy. I said grown-ups sometimes acted weird about fun. Iris nodded slowly but did not look convinced. Back at home, Aaron was at the kitchen table when we came in. Papers were spread out in front of him, small, neat stacks, school letters, a couple of bills, what looked like a printed screenshot of something on his phone. His laptop was open to a spreadsheet. I saw a line with yesterday's date and a short note, but I could not read it before he clicked to another window. On the wall beside the fridge, our family calendar hung where it always did. A new red circle had appeared around the upcoming Thursday. Inside the circle, in Aaron's careful handwriting, were the words, "Meeting, personal 5:40 p.m. I pointed at it and asked what big event that was. He said it was nothing I needed to worry about, just something he had to attend. He did not offer more, and that annoyed me. I told him if he got to question my nights out, I had the right to know where he was going too. He said he had already told me enough. We got ready for the family dinner. Iris wore a little dress with stars on it. I chose something more covered than my club outfit, but still fitted. Aaron ironed his shirt. He helped Iris with her shoes, speaking softly to her while I fixed my lipstick in the mirror by the door. He said they would have cake and see Grandma. He did not say anything about the selfie. That silence crawled on my skin. At the restaurant, the noise hit us the moment we walked in. Kids ran between tables, waiters shouted orders, chairs scraped. Our family had a long table near the back, covered in plates, menus, and party hats. Ruth stood up to hug Iris. She hugged Aaron too, longer and tighter. For me, she gave a small hug and a polite smile. We had barely sat down when one of Aaron's cousins grinned and raised his phone, waving it like a flag. He said something about having a celebrity in the family now. Another cousin laughed and asked if I planned to give any more spicy lessons to the town. People chuckled. I forced a smile and said fame was a heavy burden. Someone further down the table asked Aaron if his students had seen the photo yet. He gave a tight smile and said he hoped not. I cut in and said that if they did, at least they would know their teacher had good taste in wives. A few people laughed, some a bit too loud to feel natural. Ruth's eyes traveled from my face to the phone in the cousin's hand. They wanted the story, of course, so I gave it to them, in the version that fit me best. I told them the club had been packed and wild. I said some guy had reached around as a joke just as I took the selfie. I said I had posted it because it was funny, because it was on brand, because what was the point of going out if you could not show it? I said Aaron had flooded my phone with messages, acting like I had cheated. I said he had called me names, that he had attacked my motherhood. The words felt heavy as I spoke them, but they also felt powerful. They made me the hero and him the problem. Aaron interrupted quietly and said he had never called me a bad mother. He said he had said the picture hurt him and that he worried what it would do when Iris was older. I rolled my eyes and told everyone he was rewriting history. I said men like to paint themselves as calm victims when they were the ones who overreacted. I saw a cousin exchange a look with his wife. Ruth put her fork down. She said she had seen the selfie and the way people talked under it. She said she had watched the little clip from the rooftop bar too, where I joked that if someone treated you like a criminal, you might as well enjoy the crime. My neck warmed. I had not realized that clip had reached her. She asked if I understood how it looked to see her son sitting alone at home, while strangers online laughed about touching his wife. She said she had imagined Iris one day being old enough to search her mother's name and finding that image. She did not raise her voice, but the words landed harder than shouting. I told her younger people saw things differently. I said it was just a body and just a joke. I said it was not my fault if weak people read more into it. I said Aaron could have played along and looked cool, but instead he had moved to the guest room to punish me. Ruth shook her head and said moving to another room sometimes meant someone was trying not to explode. She said silence could be mercy. At that, I got angry. I said everyone was acting like I had slept with the man in the picture. I said all I had done was exist in a crowded space. I said if Aaron left me over one night, that would say more about him than me. A few relatives nodded awkwardly, not quite meeting my eyes. Others kept eating, pretending not to listen. The kids at the table were half aware, half busy with crayons and fries. Iris sat close to Aaron, drawing shapes on a napkin. At one point, she looked up at me and asked if the man in the picture was my friend. Her voice was small. The whole table seemed to hold its breath. I laughed too loudly and said he was nobody. I said it was just a silly pose for a camera. Aaron looked down at his plate. A cousin at the end of the table lifted his phone higher. The red recording dot was visible now. He said he was capturing a family moment for the group chat. The others laughed and told him to get my good angle. The chant started then, light and joking at first. They told me to stand up and give a toast about trust, about modern marriage, about how real love could survive anything. It was like the rooftop bar all over again, but with more children and older faces. Nova nudged me and told me not to waste the chance. She said this was my stage. I stood slowly, feeling the eyes on me, and the phone camera fixed in my direction. I could hear plates clink, chairs creak, someone's baby fussing in the background. Ruth's hands were folded on the table. Aaron's jaw was clenched, but he stayed silent, watching. As my cousins banged their glasses for a trust toast, a phone camera rose higher and locked onto my face. I should say I walked out of that restaurant and thought about changing. That would make me look better now. But I didn't. I gave that toast. I stood there with my glass in my hand and said I was tired of being treated like a child. I said old ideas about marriage needed to die. I said a wife having fun in a club did not mean she was broken or dirty. People snickered. I said if a man wanted a statue, he should marry a rock, not a woman. A few cousins cheered. Someone whistled. The cousin with the phone kept recording, his arm steady and high. Aaron sat still, eyes on his plate. Ruth stared at me like she was trying to decide if I was the same person she had met years ago. Iris leaned against Aaron's shoulder, eyes wide. In my head, the whole thing felt like a scene from a show. I was the bold one. They were all stuck. Later that night, though, when the noise and fake laughter were gone, it did not feel like a show anymore. The next afternoon, I took Iris to the park. I told myself it was to get fresh air. Really, I needed a break from Aaron's quiet and from my own phone. The sky was clear, the playground crowded. Kids ran around, yelling, sliding, jumping. Iris climbed the ladder to the slide, calling for me to watch. I smiled and waved when she shouted my name. I sat on a bench and checked my notifications anyway. The cousin had posted a short clip to the family group. Me holding my glass, talking about rocks and women and fun. Someone else had trimmed it and added a line from my selfie caption, "Married, not dead." Underneath, a few comments from relatives, half jokes, half not. I muted the chat. Iris came back and sat beside me, cheeks pink, hair messy. She swung her legs and looked at the ground for a moment. Then she asked why Daddy was sleeping in the other room again. The way she said again made me cringe inside. I told her Daddy snored. I said he did not want to wake anyone when he got up early. She said she had gone to the bathroom in the night and seen him sitting on the edge of the guest bed, not sleeping at all, just staring at his hands. She said she thought he was crying. My throat tightened. I told her she must have imagined it. I said grown-ups sometimes sat up to think. Then she asked if the man in the picture was my friend. She said another girl at school had shown her mom's phone and asked if that was her mommy. Iris said she had seen the hands under my skirt and did not know what to say. Her voice was tiny, but the words were sharp. I laughed because I did not know what else to do. I said it was just a silly picture, like a joke, that the man was nobody. I said sometimes cameras made things look worse than they were. She looked at me with serious eyes and said her teacher had told them that if something looked wrong, they should tell a grown-up. I said I was the grown-up and I was saying it was fine. She nodded, but her shoulders curled a little, like she was colder than the air. That week, Aaron told me Ruth wanted us over for tea. I asked if she had invited me, or just him and Iris. He said both. He said they wanted to talk. I told him I was tired of talks. I said his mother had already judged me with her eyes at the restaurant. He did not argue. He just said it would be better if we went together. On the day, he drove. The car was quiet. Iris hummed a song in the back seat. I scrolled through my phone, half looking for new comments, half avoiding the old ones. At a red light, Aaron's phone buzzed in the cup holder. A preview flashed, only a contact saved as a single-star emoji, and the words, "Can confirm Thursday." He tapped the screen face down before I could see more. I asked if he had a new friend. He said nothing. Ruth's living room smelled like lemon polish and old books. Shelves lined the walls, full of novels and framed photos. Iris ran to the coffee table where Ruth had laid out cookies. Aaron helped carry in a plate. Ruth hugged Iris tight, kissed Aaron's cheek, then gave me a small hug too, hands barely touching my shoulders. We sat. Ruth poured tea for us. For a while she talked about normal things. Iris's school, Aaron's classes, how busy the supermarket was. I waited for the turn. It came soon enough. She looked at me and said she had seen a lot online lately. She said parents at her church had shown her my selfie on their phones, asking if that was really her daughter-in-law. She said she had watched it more than once, trying to understand. She asked if I knew how it felt to see her son's wife in that picture. I told her it was just 1 second in a club. I said people were acting like they had never seen a body before. I said the hands looked worse than they were because of the angle. I said I could have taken it down, but that would have felt like admitting I had done something truly wrong, and I didn't believe that. She listened, then said she had also seen the clip from the restaurant and from the rooftop bar, where I talked about enjoying the crime. She asked if I realized how often I used my husband and my marriage as a joke. I said jokes were how I survived boring days and heavy people. I said Aaron could have laughed with me instead of turning away. Ruth turned to Aaron and said softly that she had heard the shredder at our place the other night when she dropped off soup. She said she had seen a thin binder on their table labeled utilities that felt thicker than normal bills when she moved it. She said she had asked him if everything was all right, and he had said he wanted clear records in case Iris ever needed them. My chest burned. I had not known that part. I told her he was being dramatic. I said he liked to turn life into paperwork. I said keeping track of every bill, every date, every screenshot was not clear, it was obsessive. I said he was treating me like a problem to solve, not a person to love. She sighed and said sometimes people kept records because they had been told again and again that what they remembered was wrong. I raised my voice then. I said everyone was acting like I was the only one who made mistakes. I said Aaron had chosen to sleep in another room, chosen to stay quiet, chosen to make me look heartless. Ruth shook her head slowly. She said his silence had not made me post that picture. It had not made me give that toast. It had not put any hands anywhere. She said those choices were mine. I wanted Nova there to speak for me. I wanted someone to say I deserved grace. Instead, I had Ruth's steady eyes and Aaron's tired ones, and Iris eating cookies between us. When we got home, the air in the apartment felt thick. The two mugs waited on their separate counters, like they were part of the furniture now. Iris sat at the table coloring. Aaron went to the stove to start dinner. I opened my phone and saw a new follow request from Cade. He had sent a message, a screenshot of my selfie with a line about how this one will live forever. I turned the phone face down. Iris looked up from her drawing. She asked if Daddy was going to live in the other room forever. She asked if the man in the picture was going to be her new daddy. The words hit me like cold water. I laughed too quickly and said no. I said Daddy was just being dramatic. I said the man was nobody. I said I love Daddy. She looked from me to Aaron and back again. Aaron came over and crouched next to her chair. He said gently that grown-ups sometimes hurt each other, but that he would always be her dad. He said he and Mommy had to decide some things. I told him not to say that in front of her, that he was scaring her, He replied, in a lower voice, that pretending nothing had happened was not helping either. As he spoke, his phone buzzed on the counter. The screen lit up with a message preview from a thread labeled "Only Follow-up." I saw the first words, "We can move ahead when you are ready," before he turned it over with one calm hand. He met my eyes for a second, and I felt something drop in my stomach, like a lift starting to fall. Iris asked if the man in my picture was going to be her new daddy. Just as Aaron's phone buzzed with a follow-up thread, he turned face down. After that day at Ruth's house, something in Aaron changed in a way I did not like at all. It was not that he got angrier. It was the opposite. He got calm. At first I thought that was good. No more heavy sighs in the kitchen. No more tense shoulders at the sink. But it did not feel peaceful. It felt like standing in a room after a storm siren stops, not sure if the tornado has already passed or is just about to hit. I spent more time on my phone, like always. Cade's messages became my favorite distraction. He sent me a short voice clip laughing about how that picture will live forever and saying the club wanted us back. He asked if my fragile husband had calmed down yet. I told him Aaron was still sulking. I told Cade my husband was threatening to leave over one stupid photo. He replied that some men would die to have a wife other people wanted to touch. I chose to believe that was normal. At night in our bedroom, I lay scrolling through old DMs, letting my thumb drift over Cade's name. Aaron came in just to pick up a folded blanket and his pillow. I asked if he really planned to sleep in the guest room forever. He said he slept better there. He said it was easier to get up early without disturbing anyone. I said that was a lie. I said he just could not stand to be near his own wife. On his nightstand, under the lamp, there was a small yellow sticky note half tucked under a book. Only 2 words showed, "Bring forms." My stomach did a little jump. I asked, trying to sound like I was joking, if he was planning some kind of trial. He said he was just fixing some things with bills and school paperwork. I snorted and told him he was turning into an old man who lived for forms. He did not bite. He just took his pillow and blanket and left the room. The guest room door closed, but not all the way. Later that night, when I went to the bathroom, I heard a low hum from behind it. I pushed the door open a little. Aaron sat at the small desk with the lamp on. Papers lay in neat piles. A shredder hummed on the floor next to him, chewing up some envelope. On the desk, that thin binder Ruth had talked about sat open. It still said "Utilities" on the spine, but there were plastic sleeves inside, thicker now. I saw faint shapes of printed screenshots and something that looked like a calendar grid. He turned when he felt me there. The shredder went quiet. He said calmly that it was late and I should sleep. I asked what he was doing, why he needed a label that lied. He said he liked his privacy too now. He said everybody seemed to be allowed secrets except him. That stung more than I wanted to admit. I snapped that he was acting like our life was a project at school. He said he would rather have clear pages than memories that got twisted. At work, the air felt different too. Damon kept his distance. Carla from HR sent an email asking to follow up on online conduct and brand association. I told Nova this was all because Aaron had let his hurt spill into the world. I said if he had just taken the joke, nobody would care. Carla called me into a small meeting room with a glass wall. She said she was not here to punish me, just to make sure I understood how public posts could affect the company. She mentioned that some parents had emailed, asking if they wanted their kids wearing clothes from a brand whose staff glorified risky behavior while married. The phrase made my chest burn. I told her my husband was behind this. I said he was telling people I was unsafe. I said he was using my job to control me. She kept her voice steady. She said my husband had not contacted them at all, as far as they knew. She said the complaints came from public posts and from people sharing links. She asked if things were stable at home. I said yes, that he just brooded a lot. She wrote a few notes on a clipboard that had only one word printed at the top, statement. I hated how official that looked. That evening, when I came home, Aaron sat at the dining table with his laptop open. Iris played on the floor with her dolls. He had headphones around his neck, not on his ears yet. On the screen, I saw a spreadsheet. The rows were like a neat little prison. Dates in the first column, short phrases in the second. I recognized some: club picture, rooftop clip, family dinner toast. In another corner, I saw letters, maybe initials. Before I could read more, he minimized the window. His desktop showed 2 clean folders, Archive A and Archive B. I laughed and asked if he had decided to become a detective. I said no one would care about his little archives. I said it was pathetic, keeping track like I was some villain in a movie. He looked at me, eyes tired but clear, and said he was just making sure he did not feel crazy anymore. He said he wanted to have something to hold when people told him he imagined things. I told him the only thing he imagined was that a picture meant I did not love him. I threw the word love into the air like a shield. He did not argue. He just put the headphones on and turned away. A few days later, I stayed late at the office. Damon had hinted that I might need to rethink my online presence, and my pride refused to let me look worried in front of the others. When I finally left, the sky outside was dark. The building's underground parking garage was half empty. My heels clicked on the concrete, echoing. As I rounded a pillar toward my car, I saw Aaron's car in one of the visitor spots, parked facing the street. My first thought was that he had come to surprise me, or to fight. My heart sped up. I slowed and heard his voice. He stood near another pillar, phone to his ear, shoulders relaxed. His tone was low and careful, not angry. I stopped and stayed in the shadows, listening. He said he was following up on their last talk. He mentioned documentation and timeline, the words strange on his tongue but steady. He said he had collected screenshots, messages, bank notifications. He said he had kept everything in digital and physical copies. He mentioned making sure the children's routines were clear. The other voice was quiet. I could not make out the words. He sounded like he was taking notes in his head. The call ended with a soft thank you from him. He lowered the phone, and for a brief second I saw the screen. A little cloud icon popped up with the words, "File uploaded successfully." Below that, the date. Then he tapped it away. He did not even look around the garage. He walked to his car, got in, and drove off with that same careful calm. I pressed my back to the cold concrete pillar, heart hammering. For a wild moment, I wanted to run after him, grab the phone, call whoever he had called, and tell them my side. Then my anger came in. I told myself he was trying to scare me. I told myself he was bluffing. At home, I went straight to him. Iris was in her room, lining up stuffed animals. The TV in the living room was on mute. Aaron sat at the table again, papers in small piles, laptop half closed. I dropped my bag harder than needed. I said I had heard him at the garage. I said he was sneaking around, whispering into his phone like I was some criminal he needed to report. I said only cowards talk to strangers instead of to their own wives. I told him if he wanted to leave, he should grow a spine and say it, not hide behind files and timelines. He listened without interrupting. When I finally stopped, out of breath, he spoke calmly. He said he had tried talking. He said he had tried in the kitchen, in our bedroom, at Ruth's house, in the car. He said every time, I made jokes for other people. He said I had turned him into a punchline in front of friends, co-workers, family. He said he was done arguing about what everyone could see on their phones. I told him he was twisting it. I said I was only defending myself. I said I had never cheated. I said it was just a picture, just a hand, just laughter. He nodded like he had heard it all before. Then he said he would handle it properly now. The way he said properly made my skin prickle. I asked what that meant. He said it meant no more shouting, no more begging, no more hoping I would see his side. He said it meant structure. He said it meant using the systems that existed instead of chasing me through comments and group chats. I scoffed and told him he was not scary. I said no one would take him seriously. I said judges and systems had real problems to deal with, not selfies. He looked at Iris's closed bedroom door, then back at me. He said this was not about punishing me. He said it was about protecting Iris from chaos. He said he had to think about her future more than my image. As he spoke, his phone, lying on the counter between our mugs, buzzed with a soft alarm. The screen lit up with the words, "Paper drop, 9:20 a.m." The time was set for the next morning. He picked it up, tapped it silent, and slipped it into his pocket. Without another word, he took his pillow and blanket from the chair and walked down the hallway toward the guest room. The door closed with that same soft final click. His alarm labeled "Paper drop 9:20 a.m. buzzed right after he told me he would handle everything properly. School pickup line was supposed to be neutral ground. I stood by the fence with the other parents, phone in my hand, planning a cute story about busy mom life. I saw Aaron first, by our car with Iris, her backpack on, her hand in his. He did not come over. He just watched. A man in a plain jacket stepped up to me, said my full name, and asked me to confirm it. In front of teachers and parents, he handed me a thick envelope. On the first page, divorce petition, temporary primary custody to Aaron, exclusive use of the apartment. The process server spoke my full name just as the school bell rang, and the words "temporary primary custody" stared up at me.